In this video, I'm going to explain how I beat the cape level in the Kaizo romhack Grand Poo World 2. The Eyrie is a difficult cape level in Barbaroussking's romhack Grand Poo World 2 that is well known for forcing newer players to learn how to fly in Super Mario World. Cape levels in Kaizo romhacks are often associated with an elevated level of difficulty, but is this really the case, or is it just the result of most players only ever playing platforming levels and never getting flight practice? This level features several rooms, all focusing on different styles of cape maneuvers. This video is part of a new series I've been doing, so if you'd like to see more videos in this style, then please let me know in the comments what levels or romhacks you'd like to see, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that I can keep making these. The entire first room is cleverly set up to force the player to gain P-speed in order to grab the cape and instantly initiate flight. Without P-speed, Mario won't gain flight, and instead the cape can only be used to float. By using spin flight in this room, I'm able to keep P-speed the entire time and get into the pipe. The P-meter is a complicated mechanic to explain, and this level is designed in a way to make it work in my favor without knowing anything about it. What I mean by this is that when I go into this vertical pipe with active flight, I'll come out on the other side in a flight state. This is a mechanic that can be used in the original Super Mario World game and is actually used in speedruns. Dying in this room takes me back to the beginning of the level since I need to get flight prior to entering the room. The intended strategy for this room is to go fast, but control Mario's speed to avoid the hazards. Tapping forward on the D-pad will cause Mario to speed up, and tapping the B button while holding backwards on the D-pad will slow Mario down. It's possible to cancel all of Mario's speed if I'm not too careful, and that's very hard to recover from, usually resulting in a death. With that being said, in rooms like this, I prefer to take my time and play it safe, since going fast doesn't really change much for me since I'm not being forced to hurry. Because of this playstyle for the room, all I have to do is adjust my speed for each obstacle so that I can get close to the end. Because I'm moving slow here, the spawn timings of each of these obstacles will differ to someone who's playing this section quickly. But because I'm taking my time, I can adapt to it incredibly easily and choose when I should move forward or pull back. Eventually, I'll have made it through the hallway where I'll face the final dive to the end of the room. The final obstacle is this row of thwomps that if I plunge towards as Mario is falling, I can slide under safely, then twirl the blocks to get my first checkpoint. This room took me about 30 minutes. The second room features no flight and instead uses cape float control while bouncing on sprites. This room starts out quite straightforward. Unfortunately, I'm faced with one of my least favourite sprites, the disco shell, but it's not too bad. The lower spikes in this part are quite tight unless you bounce on the right side of the shell, which is what is intended, and Mario's head should never have to worry about the ceiling spikes here, thankfully. I need a good bounce to make it to this pillar. Here I have to trigger each thwomp to fall, then pull back so that I can gain some speed to make it to the next one. The ball and chain is pretty straightforward, but the spikes falling from the ceiling took a few attempts to learn where it was safe to sit. The final platform here is set up so that I can spin jump to remove the blocks and make it to the next checkpoint. That room took me about 20 minutes. Room 3 is all about flight control in a vertical room, and somehow I god moded this room in about 5 minutes. I need to use spin flight at the beginning to get under the spikes and to keep the P-meter active so that I can get flight from the next pillar. There's no indicators to tell me what type of flight I need to do here, so this was unfortunately a case of trial and error to make progress. This is the first time in this level where the game is forcing me to turn around mid-flight. This is quite easy and just requires me to press the second run button while flying. Then I just have to make it back to the other side where the gate has been opened because I hit the switch. Running up the wall gives me P-speed once again, and by just jumping off of the wall I'll gain regular flight. The thwomps will fall, but they'll also go back up, so jumping from the nets is a race. Because I haven't touched the ground, I still have active flight, so every time I jump I'll be flying again. The direction that Mario faces when jumping off of the nets is dictated by the side that has the lower hand. This is important because it prevents me from having to adjust mid-flight. Then I have to grab this P-switch, kick it mid-air, and hopefully land on it so that I can get into the door. Room 4 is another floating room, and again, this only took me around 3 minutes as it's quite short. Letting go of the jump button will cause Mario to fall more quickly, but in Super Mario World it's not as responsive as it is in games like Super Mario Maker, which adds to the difficulty of this room. Most of the time I duck jumped so that Mario's hitbox was smaller so that I had more leeway with the spikes. This next section is just some basic movement control to make sure I land on everything in my way. Bouncing across the saws is trickier than it looks because of the fall speed delay, and then I just need to bounce across these blocks carefully, smack the Koopa and do a shell jump. Getting in the pipe isn't too difficult, but I definitely don't want to lose my cape because it will prevent me from getting the checkpoint. Room 5 is another floating room, but I'm instead floating down a vertical room. I can spin the Koopa here, grab the shell and kick it so that I don't land on the spikes. Then quick fall through the saws before they line up awkwardly. I have to twirl this block to drop the Bowser statue, then fall as early as possible so that I can land on it. This lets me spin jump at just the right moment to land on the saw and twirl another statue, which will let me return to a normal jump to bounce on the Koopas. Here I have to fall as fast as possible again so that I can catch up to the Yoshi. Then, when I catch it, I immediately ditch it to get to the exit pipe. On my first playthrough of this level, I was so excited to reach the pipe that I forgot that these ropes could be hazardous, much like they were in a previous level in the hack. Thanks for jogging my memory there, Barb. Thankfully, this pipe leads to the orb, which ends the level. In total, this level took me around an hour to beat. Having cape knowledge in the lead up to this playthrough proved to be pretty valuable and really made the level quite enjoyable. I think that what scares most players with cape levels is their inexperience, but also the way that most cape levels are made to be played exactly as the creator intended, with little to no room for error. This level breaks that rule and has enough leeway to allow it to be accessible by not being made incredibly tight. Thanks for watching, and here's a spliced playthrough so you can see the flow of the level from start to finish.